So Manchester United have been recently linked with Middlesbrough's 22-year-old creative central midfielder Hayden Hackney, and I think for between £15 to £20 million, he'd be a very good signing. I have said before that in 2025, Adam Walton would be my main central midfield target, but ideally I think United should be looking to increase the value of players like Toby Collier and Dan Gore before selling them on for between £10 to £20 million, and then upgrading them with players like Hackney, as I do believe he's a level above what United currently have in central midfield, behind the starters, Mainu and Agate, and in this video I'm going to show you two specific stats from Hackney's FB Ref report that I think perfectly encapsulate how good he is right now, but also how he could massively improve United when looking to break down sides in the middle third. But I'm also going to be talking about central midfield roles in general, whilst also talking about two other English central midfielders in the Championship who I rate on the same level as Hackney, and one specific player who I think might be one of the most underrated players in the whole of Europe, and has a contract with a Championship club only until 2026, meaning that United could probably get him from a bargain price. And he's also actually a former Arsenal Academy graduate. But before I come on to the tactical roles and other players, how good is Hayden Hackney and what sort of midfielder is he? Well, Hayden Hackney is a central midfielder who is capable of playing centrally in a double pivot or a three-man midfield. He may need some time to adapt to the role of a single pivot, but I definitely think he has a few attributes that would make him suited to this role in the future. But what are Hayden Hackney's best attributes? Well, in terms of technical ability and ball control, Hackney is definitely a level above the Championship, being very assured and composed in possession. And this may lead you to ask what the difference is between someone like Hayden Hackney and a player like Toby Collier, and this is where we come on to Hackney's FB Ref report from the Championship last season. If you look at the passing section of his FB Ref report, you can see that he looks incredibly impressive when it comes to the volume and also the consistency and the retention of his passing, whether these are short, medium or long passes. But the specific metrics I'm most impressed by are his passes into the final third and his overall progressive passes, where he ranks in the top 1%, whilst he also ranks in the 83rd percentile for the amount of passes he's made into the penalty area. And so this shows that Hayden is one of the best, if not the best, progressive passing midfielder in the Championship, which distinguishes him from the likes of Collier, who I just feel plays it far too safe with his passing, and I'll come on to more of that in just a bit. But before then, if you want to pick up any of the new season jerseys, go over to Jersey FIFA. They've also got the retro, club and international jerseys as well. You can use code Atlantis at checkout for a discount. A link will be in my Instagram bio, which I will leave linked in the description. But the eye test also backs up what I was previously saying about Hackney. As whilst he is a very efficient circulator of the ball, he also has the vision and composure to be able to see an opportunity for a midfield splitting pass, which is essential in enabling Middlesbrough to work the ball in behind the opposition's midfield line. And to me, this is arguably the most important attribute of any creative deeper line central midfield at the elite level, and what I think United desperately lack. See, whilst Agate is a very efficient short passer, and Mainu has incredible press resistance when he receives the ball with his back to goal, I don't think Manchester United have a player who can fully replace the sort of creative passing ability that Christian Eriksen brought to the midfield back in 22-23. I would say without doubt Hackney's midfield splitting passes, particularly the disguise he's able to use in his technique, is definitely his best attribute. However, of course, in order to play in the Premier League, particularly for Manchester United, you need to have as complete a skill set as possible. Press resistance wise, I wouldn't say that Hackney is as good as another Championship midfielder who I'm going to mention in just a bit, but he's certainly capable of dropping deep to the edge of his own box in the build-up phase in the defensive third and being able to use 1 and 2 touch bounce passes to play out of trouble. Coventry's 26-year-old Englishman Ben Sheaf, on the other hand, is in my opinion not just better in terms of press resistance than Hackney, but also a better player and option for United to target. Dan Neil is another Championship midfielder who's at Sunderland, who's very similar to Hackney, being technically astute and a very good progressive passer, as his FB Ref report shows. Out of the three, I think Ben Sheaf is probably the best fit for United and the best player of the three, as well as I think Hackney could eventually be moulded into a player who could play in a single pivot in midfield, a deeper line playmaker kind of like Michael Carrick was. I think at the moment he's more of a playmaker who's going to be operating higher up the pitch, with a more destructive ball winner or a single pivot sitting behind him in the rest defence. Sheaf is also superior to both Neil and Hackney when it comes to the build-up phase, which is just as essential for a modern day central midfielder to have as the progressive passing ability of Hackney. But Sheaf, in my opinion, is just a more complete midfielder, as like Hackney and Neil, his FB Ref report showcases how good he is as a progressive passer from deep, an efficient circulator of the ball, ball, who can also split the midfield with passes between the lines, whilst also having a great range of passing as well, enabling him to switch play from deeper positions. When analysing all three, Ben Sheaf, Hayden Hackney and Dan Neil, I think you have to say that the former Arsenal graduate Sheaf is by far the best out of the three defensively. Hackney is a very good pressing player, as he's able to use his reading of the game to jump out of the midfield line and apply pressure to an opposition player receiving the ball, which is essential for a high pressing side to have, and would fit very well with Ten Hag's current pressing setup. Dan Neil at Sunderland as well has a very similar sort of tenacity and engine to his game. However, I just think that Sheaf is much more of a natural ball winner, having better tackling technique, especially when he needs to go to ground, and overall, I think his defensive instincts make him absolutely perfect for that single pivot position, sitting behind the play when his side have the ball, and being ready to shuffle across to break up opposition counter-attacks. I think Hackney in the Championship is definitely capable of playing that single pivot role. However, I think Sheaf's physicality and athleticism gives him a significant advantage in that particular role when it comes to playing in the Premier League and certainly when playing for United. And so overall, whilst I do really like Hackney and would take him at Manchester United over Eriksen or Collier, especially for between 15 to 20 million pounds, with the same going for Dan Neil as well, I think Ben Sheaf would be the better signing for Manchester United, as from a stylistic point of view, he's perfect for what United need in a deeper lying central midfielder. United need someone who has the ability to drop deep in the build-up phase and be able to receive possession and efficiently work the ball out of the pressure and into the middle third, whether this is through receiving the ball with his back to goal under pressure and turning out before playing forward, or playing a first time bounce pass from Onana into the centre back behind the player who initially presses the keeper, which will work to play around the pressing player, taking them out of the game and leaving space for the centre back to drive forward into the space before creating a 2v1 situation with the fullback on that side against the opposition's wide midfielder. And against Manchester United in the FA Cup semi-final last season for Coventry, Sheaf displayed how good he is in these sorts of positions, and so now I'm going to go for a few highlights from that game. But before I do that, if you want to check out some of my articles, you can sign up to my Patreon. I think it's about £1 a month. You can get a 7-day free trial and check out the articles and videos I have on there. So we'll start off with this clip where Mainu is attempting to make a run in behind Sheaf into the box. But in this situation, Sheaf has the defensive awareness to see Mainu's run in behind him, and he's able to make an interception on the corner of his own box. But what's most impressive is his composure when he does make the interception, as he doesn't just panic and hoof the ball forward, but instead he subtly lofts the ball over Rashford's head, releasing the Coventry right back into the space to drive forward on the counter. Here we see a perfect example of how good Sheaf is in that single pivot position, as when the keeper has the ball, the pass into Sheaf and the bounce pass out to the centre back on the other side of the box on first glance seems like the right option. However, as Sheaf receives the ball, you can see Garnacho is steaming forward, ready to apply pressure as soon as Sheaf plays that pass into the centre back. But instead, Sheaf is able to split McTominay and Garnacho with a disguised left-footed pass, taking 3 Manchester United pressers out of the game and once again freeing the fullback to drive forward into the space in the middle third. Here, after exchanging a few simple passes in the defensive third, Sheaf finds himself on the wrong side of McTominay, with the passing lane from the centre back into him being completely cut off. But Sheaf manages to time a subtle movement perfectly, getting in front of McTominay, showing for the ball and acting as a point for Coventry to bounce the ball into Sheaf and out to the centre back on the other side. And he is very efficient when playing these simple bounce passes from the keeper or centre back out to either the centre back or full back on the far side. But this composure also extends to when Sheaf receives the ball in the middle third, as he isn't just someone who's going to shuffle the ball from side to side, but can manipulate the ball under pressure, keeping composed in order to find an angle for a forward pass between the lines. And if you want technical proficiency, just look at how he's able to control this ball before having the vision and technique to volley the ball switch and play from the congested right side out to the space on the left. But also in this game we saw how good he is defensively, racing back with Marcus Rashford before breaking up the attack with a sliding tackle. And so for me, bringing Ben Sheaf for between 15 to 20 million pounds in 2025 as a stylistic alternative to Manuel Ugarte, switching between the two based on the need for a certain game or during a certain period during a game. Sheaf certainly isn't as good as Ugarte defensively, but I think he's better than Uruguayan when it comes to his press resistance and his progressive passing. He isn't young by any means, he's 26, but for a deeper line playmaker, this is still relatively young, when you think back to how players like Michael Carrick were able to go up a few levels as they reach their late 20s, early 30s, and I think that Ben Sheaf could do the same.